Next, we have Mr. Kyle Sweet. Kyle is from Glassford, Illinois. His college and career goals to be a construction management major, and he hopes one day to own his own business. His favorite TED Talk is Mike Rowe's War on Work.
So from the time that we entered high school, parents and teachers alike talked about college and about how college was most certainly going to be in our future. The seemingly critical decision on whether or not to attend college seemed almost predetermined. When looking at our high school graduation, I'm sure all of you watched your principals and teachers proclaim about how they could see the next generation of doctors and lawyers, and about how our whole class is almost certain to succeed. But with that, they didn't really give us the full picture, and they didn't tell us the truth. And I think that if you guys would have heard the truth at your graduation speech, the atmosphere would have been a lot different. Facts like students on average are graduating with $29,400 in student loans, and of those same students, only 48% of them are using their degree to a potential that would justify getting it. It's facts like these that I discovered that completely changed the way I viewed college. So to give you some understanding about myself and how I got to be where I am today, I graduated salutatorian of my class. I accumulated hundreds of hours of community service while in high school. And the reason being is because I was the first person in my family to go to college. Everyone before me chose the trade route, and I was the first one to go against the grain and go to college. And with that, I thought if I could pay my way through college with scholarships that, I would most certainly be all right. Well, it didn't pan out exactly the way I had thought. And I had to pay for everything with my own money. And I'm sure, like all of you, when you pay for something in your own money, you start to really view things in a different light. And with that, I discovered some things with college that are inherently wrong. So first off, let's talk about the history of college. In the 1970s, there was a pretty substantial push for the federal government to get people to go to college. The theory is if we have an educated society, we will create jobs by inventions and get people out there and be more competitive with other countries. And it worked. It worked extremely well. And it created some sort of a problem because every single year after 1978, college numbers went up, which you would think that's a great thing. What could possibly be wrong with everybody going to college? Well, in 2009, we hit our peak. 70% of students that graduated high school attended a university, The problem with that is you have 70% of high school students competing for a job in an economy that does not require 70% of its people to have a degree. And you really kind of water down the market. College no longer is about bettering yourself. We don't have as much vested interest. I could walk down the hallway of any college, any high school at this matter, and it's a reoccurring theme of people trying to find the path of least resistance. Who'd you have for, Com 110? Who's the easiest teacher? How can I get through college with doing the least amount possible? And that's a pretty big deal because education, the reason why everyone is in college, is no longer the number one priority for a college student. And it seems counterintuitive to have the number one reason why we're here be probably the third or fourth most important thing to a student when attending college. You've got to ask yourself, why do people keep going to college? And I'm going to kind of challenge the saying and the advice that every single person has gotten at least once in a lifetime, and it's follow their dreams. And you would think follow your dreams is something that's a pretty much given. Parents tell you that, teachers tell you that, pastors will tell you that. But it's really bad advice. Because when you're looking at job-wise, following your dreams, if everybody closed their eyes and said, I'm going to follow my dream and get my dream job, I snap my fingers, everybody's got their dream job. Okay, we would live in a completely different world because guess what? There's not enough people out there who close their eyes and say, I want to be a plumber, or I want to be an electrician, or I want to pump septic systems. But it's those kinds of jobs that need to exist to make everyday life possible. And if we keep pushing jobs like that to the back burner and keep treating that as, oh, you weren't smart enough to go to college, so you can go to a trade school, or you weren't smart enough to go to college, you can be a plumber. That's your second best option. When in reality, that's not the case at all. And I guess to address a misconception, can you flip my slide, Neil? Oh, here we are. To address a misconception, this is a photo of the 1970s when it talked about education, and that was one of the posters that was used to convince people to go to college. The guy on the right-hand screen would be someone like my grandfather, who had no formal education and really didn't even make it to the 8th grade. But the misconception with that is that I wouldn't say he's not a smart person, because while my grandfather would probably fail an ACT or get, a considered single-digit scores, he's one of the most intelligent people I've ever talked to in my life. He has the ability to see a horse and probably knows more about its health conditions than a modern-day vet. He can look at a tractor motor and tell you what's wrong with it. He can build a house, run wiring, run plumbing. But he's considered on today's standard not intelligent. So to talk to you guys about jobs and what's offered out there, I feel like the education system has done you a pretty big misservice, because we talked about college in high school, and we talked about, that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was never given a talk of, if you don't go to college, this is what your other options are, and they are equally as good as college. So to talk a little bit about that, right now in America, there's 11.8 million people unemployed. So logic says if we have 11.8 million people unemployed, that we need to somehow create 11.8 million jobs. But in reality, at this very given moment, there are 3 million jobs that could be gotten by any person with the right experience. And you're probably thinking, well, that doesn't make sense. How do we have 11.8 million people unemployed, but yet 3 million people that could, jobs that can be filled? Well, the reason is because we're training people for the wrong thing. And whenever you get something, a statistic as high as 70% of students attending college after high school, you've created all the other jobs, your trades and your vocational schools, as a back burner thing. And by doing so, you've created a skills gap. And just to put this into perspective for you guys, right now in Alabama, the average construction worker's age is 47, 1/3 of which are over the age of 55. And every single day, more and more people are retiring, and there's no one there to fill his place, because this ideology of going to college and working a little bit less, just like the guy on the left-hand screen, going to college, everybody wants to have a shorter day and make more money and retire a little bit earlier, work a little less, not quite get as dirty. And this ideology of what people have as a perfect job doesn't necessarily exist anymore. And if there's not people to do the things on the right-hand part of the screen, society's not going to operate the way it should. And that's the big thing that I've been trying to get across here as far as the whole TED Talk is concerned. But think of this. The whole reason as far as college is concerned that it was a big push for me, at least, is I thought, if I go to college, I'm going to get a better job and I'm going to make more money. I've heard in statistics time and time again, you go to college people are making more money. But there's nothing wrong with going the other direction. Right now, pipeline welders in North Dakota are making on average $100 an hour. The reason being is it's not a pleasant job. You're in North Dakota, it's cold. Most of the time, people are traveling from out of state to do it, but they're making $100 an hour. And until we can change society's view as that being just as impressive as the person who has $150,000 in student loans with a degree, living at home, working at Starbucks, until we get the person who worked out of high school to be the same level of impressiveness as the college kid with the loans and the debt, we're going to have a pretty big issue. So in summation, I guess the one thing to leave with you guys is that college is a business, and they offer a service just like everything else, like Walmart. And a degree simply is just a receipt, and it's a proof of purchase. And if you're going to cook food or to go for a job interview, they really don't care about your receipt. They care about your ability to formulate what you've learned and make yourself a better person as a whole. Similarly, if I go to cook food for people at the Super Bowl game, I don't show them a receipt and say, hey, I got a receipt, man. They don't necessarily care. The same way as employers don't care about the degree if you didn't take anything from it. So I'm not here to tell you whether or not you should attend college, but I want to let you know that there are other options out there, and if we keep putting vocational and types of work like that at the back burner, we're going to live in a society that, as Mike Rose said, in a few years, an hour with a good plumber is going to cost the same amount as an hour with a psychiatrist, and at that point, we're going to need them both. Thank you.